All right, welcome back to Innovation and to Impact's Singapore Maritime Week diaries, shall we say. Marius, we're at the end of Singapore Maritime Week. I mean, there is tomorrow, but we've got nothing planned and most of everyone else is shipped out by then. How have you found the week?
Well, I think it was a pretty good week. Generally speaking, I think it was productive. We had lots of meetings. We did workshops. We've attended events. We've been at, any form of shape of networking that you can think of. And I think that was quite good. I did say last time that I didn't learn much so far, but today is I feel a little bit different about it. And it's not that I've learned about a new solution or a new way of innovating or whatsoever, but we had this event this morning with the World Economic Forum and the Ports Association.
Yeah.
And that was quite an enriching conversation because what I've learned was more about from the problems they're facing and how they actually going about solving them, right? Because these problems are fundamentally quite big, and ports are seen as potentially an enabler, but it's also sometimes seen as a blocker. And quite honestly, based on the conversation we've had today, I felt more like they're an enabler and they're just not getting all the support perhaps from the ecosystem all the times to make the right decision. So it's kind of difficult to balance impact and competitiveness. It's kind of difficult to make a judgment where you have to prioritize social or nature positive initiative with trying to bring more trade into your port. And not an easy place to be.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm happy you brought up the World Economic Forum this morning because today, like in our group, one of the big things we were talking about was how hard it is to finance these solutions. And yesterday we were talking a lot about, a lot of startups here or groups here we feel like are maybe creating problems for themselves just so they can fix them. And I think it's a very similar thing to what I heard today in our roundtable, where they were talking about how badly they wanted help. They're like, we want to help, we want to create these nature projects and stuff, but for us to be able to help, we have to hit these KPIs. And they were kind of negative KPIs. All of this has to be wrong before we can actually do anything and try and make a difference. And I think this is kind of where they're setting up barriers for themselves almost of, we really want to help, but we only want to help if it's this bad. So it's, a lot of what we're doing is trying to get ahead of the issue, and not letting the issue get too bad to a point where, it's really, really hard to recover. And I think this is an issue that's facing our industry now, is that people only want to help when, it's so bad.
Yeah, and I think it kind of translates not just in ports, but I think it's across the board in our industry. It's something. It's probably It's a bad habit, or call it whatever you want. But I've heard that story before. I heard that story from startups when they're trying to get into the business, and they say, "Well, I've been reaching out to ABC, the company, and it's been 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and I'm still doing a trial. They have not made up their mind." I know it's difficult. But taking one step is the first thing. You just need to go. Sometimes it's not that difficult, right? I get that there might be solutions, and let's say, especially in the hardware space, things that are quite costly. So obviously you need to take that in consideration, and you need to plan it carefully. But there's so many others that can have so much impact, and you just need to get going.
Yeah, and I think just moving away from this World Economic Forum roundtable, which was excellent, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that no one in the industry really trusts each other. Like with startups, no one wants to trust a startup and actually, commit to letting them have a go. And I think I talked to Shakib just before, who's on the board of Safetytech, who said, organizations actually just have to take that leap of faith. Otherwise, the industry will never grow, And I guess what he said was, if the people don't grow as well, then the industry might leave them behind almost, because, maritime is an aging industry. It's not got those young minds and voices in a huge supply. And if these young minds are using innovation, technology to their advantage, they're going to start making headway, and people who refuse to change and grow might be left behind.
Absolutely. I think that's almost material for a whole episode in itself that we can unpack. But that's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think it all boils down to the industry not trusting each other, at least from my perspective. But I don't know, from you, what is probably the one big lesson you've learned from this week?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I've learned is like I've learned that not often, it doesn't happen often, but also people talk about their challenges. And I think that's one very important thing, because I like to say that people should not be shy to share their opinions and their voices, especially when it comes to, voicing out the frustration, the challenge that you're having. I think most people probably will get this wrong, and I'm not trying to refer to you have to be mean and tell people what you think straight away.
Yeah.
It's about being able to voice out your frustrations and your challenges in a way that it can be perceived by someone that can actually help you, frame it maybe better or whatever. When you're doing, for example, part of the work that we're doing is to try to identify pain points of people. But a pain point is not a challenge. A pain point is just one pain point, but many pain points that can make a challenge, and then definitely you can find the right solution for it. But often people are just focusing on that one pain point. So what I've learned today is a lot of pain points across the board. I think we need to do some work, maybe going back into the next conference with start to frame those as challenges and what they mean.
Yeah. I mean, so like we said, now we're at the end of Singapore Maritime Week. Our focus almost gets pushed to not only the next event, which is for us going to be Posidonia, but also can we utilize the information and the knowledge that we've got here to make an impact, and then can we apply that to Posidonia? So what do you think are some lessons that we've learned from here that we can bring to Posidonia?
Yeah, I think that's almost, I would say, part of our mission, shared knowledge, or like I like to call it transfer of knowledge, transfer of technology across the board. I think there are a couple of things here that we can learn. One is that I really liked about Singapore is it's been built on the fact of creativity matters, so outside of the box thinkers and stuff like that, and hardworking people. So those two things I think makes a difference. And clearly Singapore is ahead of many in many ways in terms of business, in terms of whatever you want to call it. So I think that's something that we can take away from here and apply maybe in other places.
Very nice. And we'll finish off with, we've been in Singapore for a week now. Outside of work and work talk, what have you enjoyed most about this week?
I love coming back to Singapore. I've been to Singapore for so many years and so many times, but it's always kind of like, a few days here, a few days there. I generally enjoy this time, probably with much better weather than used to be previous times where I've been. A little milder than normal, so that was quite good. I did enjoy the food, the vibe of the city, and the thing that always strikes me when I'm coming here, doesn't matter whether it's every 3 months or every year, is that you always find something new that amazes you. Be it a building, or I don't know, I found this one little thing that will help you wash your hands. Like we didn't know.
I'll say I've kind of got two answers. I think my first is the people. I think Singapore is a great hub where at any time there's going to be an industry having an event, and it's really nice to catch up with people who you may not have seen in a while. And I know, at least from a lot of people we've talked to, that's one of the things they've highlighted, is being able to catch up with people who they may have forgotten about or haven't spoken to in a while. I guess that is actually something we can take to Posidonia with us. Is for us and our work, it's about connecting people and ideas and solutions and challenges and all this. So how can we best utilize Posidonia, for example, a massive shipping event, to connect people who they may have forgotten about or who may not know they can add value? I think that's what kind of Singapore, outside of the technical work that we've been doing, has kind of taught me and shown me, is how great of an opportunity this is for us as an organization.
Absolutely. And that multiculturality as well is having so many different cultures and people and ways of thinking. That's what really innovation should be about. Yeah,
exactly. And my second answer is I'm quite happy with my LR pin and lanyard. It's some cool swagger for us to take back. But yes, anyway, thank you very much for sitting down with us. We'll continue this series hopefully in Posidonia, and thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys.